Yeah, sorry. I'm kind of right on time. I'm sorry not to be late today. I guess. No, I'm trying to figure some stuff out. I was actually, what am I working on right now? I'm putting together sample size to start doing some testing. I thought I'd do some new R-squared tests. So I was just filling with wide receiver and trying to put test the new stats in here. But then I realized I'm meant to be trying to stream to Discord today. So we're going to try and do that too. How's everyone doing? I don't know if it's going to let me. Well, there's something of a shared screen, huh? Huh. That's kind of it. All right. Yeah, I don't think it likes it. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I can share this in Discord so we could get a live stream going, because there's no functional way of actually streaming to Discord as far as I can find. I don't think this is going to work. Doesn't look like there's anyone around to let me know either. Nah, this kind of sucks. Nah, that'll just create a feedback. I don't think this is going to work. Discord chat. Doesn't look like this works very well at all. Make me lose it. Yeah, I don't know about this. I think what we might have to do is find a different way, because there's no way this is all going to work. Yeah. Let's disconnect that. All right, back to some stat testing, I guess. Right now, it's really hard to filter anything, but we're seeing some early results if anyone's interested. So I'm not just testing average points per game right now. I'm also testing against the other NFL variables we've got in there. Obviously, draft capital is just kicking most things butt. So I'm going to start creating a where's the volume? Seriously. There it is. I'm going to start creating a new pre-draft model based on all the new variables we've got. So I kind of need to know what the signal is to start trying to improve it, right? So yards per team, pass attempts working best for wide receiver, pretty much across the board. And the age adjustments are doing wonders for it. Team adjustments don't actually seem to make it worse. That's this section right here. You can see the signal just drop right off. Conference average is pretty interesting. It competes with age adjustments, but I don't think we can combine the two unless we just combine the two metrics themselves. I can't do a conference and age adjustment, unfortunately. It just shrinks the sample size too much. And yards per team pass attempt by itself kind of beats conference average, though, apparently. Yeah, it's just the age adjustment that's increasing the signal. Again, I would love to involve conference in this somehow, but it just doesn't seem to do as much. Yards per team dominator, same logic, college dominator, but using yards per team attempt is better than college dominator or yards dominator. Yards dominator already beat out college dominator, but now yards per team pass attempt dominator, I guess, as I'm calling it, is superior as well. And it turns out my points per game is broken. I didn't realize, but when I just updated and went back to added like another 300 players and a couple more birthdays and stuff for the new classes and pushed it back to 2000 instead of just 2003 to 2000. I broke my points per game, apparently. I don't know if that's true for running back because that's where I need it. No, it looks fine there. It's just at wide receiver I seem to have broken points for the points per game column. I don't know how. I have to go back and fix that. But it's all showing zeros across the board, so oh well. I was thinking of testing different samples as well, which is what I was just in the middle of when I realized I was meant to be on stream. So if we lock this in as the original test, then we can also test just top 24 players, for example. So if we get rid of everyone from the sample that's got that never had a top 24 season, the test should update pretty effectively. Oh, poor Corey Davis, top of the list. Look at that. Oh, before I do that, I want to add a count of the sampling. $359 players as it is. That's not so bad. But then if we remove everyone that never had a top 24 season, what do we get? Yeah, it's kind of hardware mode right now, guys. I'm sorry I'm not taking or doing topics or whatever. I'm literally trying to figure stuff out. This is a grind behind the grind, I guess. Not right now, Jeff. Come on, go away. All right. equal on top 24 PPR season. So yeah. I'm gonna have to freeze the column here so it keeps making sense. Yeah, only 69 players. Okay, nice. That was not intentional. So the thing that told us the most about top 24 players. Wow, it kind of goes all over the place, huh? I don't know how you're, or even if how much of it you can see as I scan past, but I'm looking at types of variables here. Here, these are most accounting variables. As you can see, I call them count. But when we start getting to first, best, last, and average, like when you just look at top 24 players, our dominators did jack. They don't correlate to their PPR points in the first 3 years at all. But then if you look at yards per team attempt, you've got a block right here, and you can see the average. You can see the scores they're getting. And then I'm looking at the block of, what is this? Why have I got two of them? What's 16 to 19? Oh, okay. Conference adjusted yards per team attempt. Worth knowing. Okay. So yeah, you look at the conference adjustments, and they seem to have made the yards per team attempt worse again. Yards per team pass attempt does a little bit better. Again, where we know early breakouts break out a lot. You see the first year, and also the average kind of tests okay. Wow, it's kind of terrible. And their age adjustment, their average age adjustment. That's why I keep going back to it, man. Conference seems to make things work. Age makes it better. Looking at Dominator here. Best, last, first. Best and last. Conference is important. I cannot find a way of making it relevant. No matter how many ways or how many different things I adjust by. I mean, look, adjusting by, the market share, the players that they play with doesn't do anything. But an age adjustment like production score, pretty good compared to the others. Even efficiency score, which I had a lot of hope for, just disappears when you look at conference. Points per game, almost a net zero benefit to paying attention to it. This is crazy. Of course, that's shrinking your sample size to 69 players or whatever. And that's why, for most people, when they look at it, they just see draft capital. Like just pay attention to that draft capital. Well, that's part of why, anyway. Years played. God, that's crazy. Anyway, that's what I'm working on. Unless anyone turns up, I might start kicking out a model. Oh, shoot. It's worth... I took the 2020 class out. 2012 class removed. I was looking at an ADA sample thing. Yeah. That's new wide receiver results. Yeah, receiving yards per team pass attempt above age expectation. That's the thing that seems to win. It's kind of the same at top 24. Like, all right. People don't listen. They hear what they want to hear, you know? Weird. All right. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. I can't believe I can't find any way. I just basically want to use an age adjustment, a conference adjustment, a conference adjusted stat. Like I just want to combine the three levels. And I can't find a conference adjustment that's worth trusting. Like production score, average yards per team pass attempt above age. That gets you production, that gets you age. I just want a conference adjustment that'll work. I think we're going to roll with efficiency stat. But I don't know. I can only model with so many variables in Excel. That's part of the problem here. We're going to test probability scores, basically. It's surprising there's no one around when the hard work gets done, you know what I mean? Everyone wants to complain at your results. No one wants to do the testing. All right. How does sex do? Did I not test it? How did I screw that up? You know, sometimes I wonder about myself. Ah, there it is. It did okay. Yeah, it's using a conference as well. Hard to know. Oh no, because now this the room I sample. All right, we're getting a new one. I'm trying to create a pre-draft score just in case anyone ever comes in here and wonders what the hell I'm up to. So I only want to test certain years. I don't want to test players that were drafted over the last few draft classes. 18, 19, 20. I can actually start testing 2000 with. I can actually start using 2018. So they've had 3 years. 18, 19, 20. Yeah. We can do that. And then I want to take a random year out. I guess we're just going to use 2012, no particular reason. So I go and take 2012 out. All right. And I'm doing this basically because after I move everything around to try and do what I need to do linear regression testing, I lose track of what everything is. So I've learned to make sure all the columns have their own headings, so I always know what it was. We're only gonna have players who played what 2 years, at least 20 games. Yeah, it seems like an okay line to draw. Can't really compare Grant Matos, who played 8 games, to everyone else. All right. I can just get rid of these counting stats. I don't care. I'm not using college dominator. Yards dominator? Probably not. Tell you what. Let's just move this over here. And then I want my new dominator above average. Yeah, that fella right there seems to be pretty useful. All right. Get rid of that crap. I can only test actual results. So. Got 461 players to use. That's not a lot, really, when it gets down to it, is it? Especially when you took out the undrafted fellas. Got to take out Willie Snead. Screw it. We'll keep it undrafted free agents in for a minute, okay? All right, there we go. Let's do some regression testing. Labels, certainty, residuals. Okay, so again, 21% R squared score adjusted, which goes down. That's not a good sign. Let's see what's not relevant. All right, yeah, teammate score continues to be useless. All right, let's try again. I would love to just use a teammate score adjustment, you know? Well, we still got 6. We'll always have that. Okay, yeah. Nothing teammate related will stop testing is just irrelevant. I don't even know why they got back in there. Teammates suck. I mean, the intercept at this point is useless. Doesn't like my efficiency score anymore. All right. So efficiency score on the Dominator is just kind of out. Really trying to cut down on what I can use, aren't you, you bastard? What else we got? We can start trying best and last a little bit. That's essentially what Yasba team. Crappy. Losing teammate scores, by the way, literally didn't drop the results in R squared, like even a little bit. I lost variables, which is meant to always bring the signal down, and getting rid of anything adjusted by team basically it had no effect. See if it can do that for me. Wow, new Excel has some features I enjoy. Look, it's telling you how far I used to have to do a lot of this myself, and look, it's plotting the results to the actuals all by themselves. So the blue dots here are where people's players' points per game actually was, and the orange is what this tested model it just produced actually resulted in. So you see, there's a pretty good correlation. What else we got here? That's neat. I wonder if we can get better if we get rid of a lot of the undrafted guys. I mean, this isn't using draft capital, so. Residual plot. Huh. This is neat. There's a lot of hard work you don't have to put in anymore. Probabilities are falling within ranges. Nice. I think, as much as I understand it anyway. Yeah, look. Oh, wait. The Dominator again, best in last year adjustment I'm trying to put in there. It's testing. Yeah, it's fine. It's over 75. Usually they like you over like as high as possible. Probability of having a relevance. So we've got a age adjustment, a conference adjustment. See, production school is kind of creating a long age adjustment though. We can try it. It feels a little like overfitting, but writing a formula. Mm. Doesn't think the conference adjustment is worth much either. Just wants to continually add and double add age adjustments, basically. I really thought Best and last year would start showing up based on some other results I did, but it didn't. It's still less Corey Davis goals. Yep, there it is, a 20 R² dominator. I mean, result. Let's try and get a 12 data sample. Oh, sorry, Spaceman. How you doing? There's been no one in here, so I was just getting on with it. What is that box that came up? Which one? When I went to do the testing, I don't know what year it is actually. It's new to me. I think I was working on 2016 or so. I forget which one it is now. Yeah, I think it's 2019. The box is when you do a data analysis asking it to regression testing, you have to select certain options. And I was just learning that in this new Excel program, you can ask it to make plots before you even get to the results, which I'd never seen before. For example, you can tell it whether you're using labels. So if you're using the column heading, so it actually lists what each of the variable is instead of saying variable X, Y, Z, or 1, 2, and 3. And I always use the labels just to help keep track of it. This is so amateurish compared to a lot of the other tests. Well, it's where I'm an amateur, so that makes sense. But compared to some of the testing I see people go through, I'm just doing very basic little things. Right there. You've added the data analysis pack, right? Speaking of the box that pops up. They literally can't create a score for Patterson using this thing. Oh, my ANA sample testing is 42. 42%. That's weird. Just for anyone who doesn't know, I'm testing this very small formula we just wrote using regression testing to try and predict points per game in their first 3 seasons for a class that wasn't in the data that we used to create it. So ideally, if it's doing a pretty good job, it should put the best players towards the top, and it's getting about 42% right, which isn't terrible. It's not exactly great when you consider how far down T.Y. Hilton is here by the look of it. Like, this is a model, by the way, this one right here. We can ignore this. And everything else, I'm just looking at, here you go, I highlight it in yellow. Oh, well. That's a column I'm looking at. And this is the formula it just ran. Up the top here is the R-squared stat it came up with just looking at this one class that I had out of sample. Oh, looks like I kept more than one in here. Whoops, hang on. If I get 2013 out of here, because 2013 was used to create the formula, so it's a little unfair to use that as a testing result. Well, it did go up. Look at that. Okay, nice. But it really liked Eric Page from the MAC. That conference adjustment, man. And he doesn't look like he played a snap in the NFL. Next, it liked Kendall Wright, which is wrong. Obviously, that's not the correct answer. Who's the best guy from this class? You gotta say it's Hilton, right? It's not that it doesn't like Hilton, just puts him below way too many people, especially considering there are 3 first-round players here, and it doesn't know they're first-round players. But it's putting them top 3, really. I think we can adjust down for conference. Michael Floyd was independent, really? Okay. Jordan White from the MAC. Rashad Matthews. And then likes T.Y. Hilton. Now, he was a 3rd-round draft pick, so it's not like that's not high for him. But No, I think we can do better. I'm interested in what it does for the most recent classes. I think I'm gonna have to get rid of some of use some different variables, but this is fun. As a look for how yards per team pass attempt can help. It's getting better R squared scores. I'm just not liking the results. I think I can fine tune it a little bit. Find something in conference that's useful, maybe. Excel's so finicky, man. Okay. Interesting for me at least. None of the new NFL variables I imported in are really doing very much. I haven't dug in yet, but like, where was it? Like I was testing across target share, year one stats, and points per game, as well as expected points per game. And frankly, we were getting similar results for all of them, so it's not like it's easy to predict opportunity compared to actual production. Relatively similar results. And in fact, production gets a little bit better scores in most cases. Opportunity is harder to come by, really. What the hell? Oh man, I broke it. I forgot to save it. I have to do all that again, I'm assuming. But who cares right now? All right. Elijah Moore, Rondell Moore, Devontae Smith. I kind of like him more than I should, but I think the hype on him is going to be crazy. Tylan Wallace, Rashad Bateman. Why does Rashad get pushed down into the T.Y. Hilton category here? He just wasn't that hot. It's his conference adjustment. I guess we can test last year, right? Yeah, I love Tyler Johnson. Okay. Of course he did. Justin Jefferson came in fourth. Fail. Yeah, this thing failed. He ended up liking Donald Mooney. And CD is towards the top of the list. It really doesn't like T. Higgins. Not sure I understand that. I hate models. Yeah, like T. Higgins is getting a bottom of the barrel score there. Nope. Didn't like the 2019 class, right? I mean, that's the thing. Essentially, the model that I can create is going to tell me what I already know, and I already know what failures there were, because I know who was productive in their situation. I'm looking for something that can do a little bit more than that. But we adjust that by draft capital, and we're good. Excel is Excel. No. Oh, you mean the package? No. Okay, dude. Dial it in here. I mean, you've got to do more YouTube searches. It's that simple. If you want to add a data packages or a bunch, it's like R. I'm not sure if I'm learning it. I still don't understand it. But you know how there are a bunch of preset packages that you can download for R? Basically, that exists. Hey, Stephanie Smalls. For Excel as well. They're just not preloaded. So if you go to File, for example, and then go, where is it? Options. This little box pops up. You kind of see it here. Where did my thing go? There we are. So this little box pops up, and if you go into add-ins, then there's a whole bunch you have access to, and you're going to want the analysis tool pack. So you go to this little section down here. It says Manage, and you click Excel add-ins. Go. Then you find the one that you just selected that you want, and you click OK. I've got the analysis tool pack loaded, for example. Right now, I'm not running the VBA or the Euro currency tools or anything else I've downloaded, but I am running the analysis tool pack. Click OK, and it turns up with the data analysis tool specifically. After you do that, like pretty much immediately as well, you go to the data tab, and this little extra box is turned up. It's right under my. Hang on. It's right under my little logo here, but right here you see data analysis, and when you click it, you get this little option. You can run a whole bunch of different statistical analysis. Now, even after you get there, like right then, I was just using the regression one where you choose your Y value, X value, and then there's a few little options. And like I said, I was just finding out in new Excel, you have the option to actually get it to spit out some graphs before you even start, and those themselves will take learning. So I've done a video on one of them, and there's a bunch. Like, as you know, if you Google something, you'll find some nerd somewhere trying to explain it to you, and so all of them take a little extra learning. And as you saw in my testing, like once you get in here, if you've never done it, like all of these numbers mean things, and it's like going back to school, to be honest, to understand most of it. The only one I've ever really explained on video is this p-value, and that's essentially probability that has statistical relevance towards what you're trying to predict as a y variable. And the way you figure out what it's trying to tell you is you find out the percentage, the reverse percentage. So I do 1 minus the actual value, and that's telling you the percentage, of statistical relevance. The statistical models require like over 75%, once you invert it that way. But again, man, there's a lot to learn about all of them, but you can run a whole bunch of, and if you've got Excel, you can add that package. There's just a lot more to learn after you get there, Stephanie Smalls, as I live and breathe. How you doing? Philly special. Hey, now. Not much, man. It's been fairly quiet, so I've literally just been working on stuff, staring blankly in the opposite direction. So I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good about it, Oh, let me get that. There we go. Tired, man. We're tired. Life's kicking my butt. AJ Brown and JJ Sager-Whiteside are getting getting the same score as Insanity. Yeah, but we know why. We know why shit like that happens when you're looking at overall production this way. Where were we? Last year, right? No. What am I thinking? That year. All right. Yeah, right there. And it's because AJ Brown played 1 year. And so if you're looking at Whiteside's average compared to Brown's, Well, it's not that he played 1 year. He played 3 years, but we know he was really only healthy, as I remember right, for 1 year. Played 34 games. You know what I'm talking about with DK Metcalf. I'm really tired. Let's go look at his career arc. 11, 11, and 12. I know he was injured. Actually, AJ Brown doesn't look like he was injured at all, but I know he was passing back and forth at a fairly later age because he started at 19. So again, that little model thing, like it ain't it. I haven't done nearly enough work to start calling it my model or whatnot. I'm just trying to play with these new values to see what's working, what's relevant. And I just deleted by accident all my sample results, so I got to do all that again. But yeah, we're working on it. That's weird. I really fucked this up. I had it just about perfect, and then of course I get to working on it, which is why I'm not allowed to work and test at the same time. Like that's the answer to that one. I just screw everything up. I even deleted the sample itself. Well. Like you can just test R squared in Excel by using the R squared formula, which is what I got running up here, by the way. But if you actually want them on multiple linear regression, which, watch a nerd on YouTube, but essentially it's making a graph using multiple variables and trying to make the best linear fit by adjusting the trend line with all those different variables in the same graph, and then a formula to describe that curve. And then you plot that against players that aren't in your sample. That's what a multiple linear regression model is. To do that, unfortunately, you can't just... I guess some smart guy could write the formula on a piece of paper. I can't. And I certainly can't do it in Excel, which is why you've got like little programs to do it for you. Yeah, let's get rid of that. That was no good at all. Okay. Like for a start, you got to ask what sample you want to test anything on. I mean, I'm getting rid of the 2019 class onwards because I'm not interested in players that haven't played 3 years yet. So I'm talking about, trying to model new players. I want to know what they did in their first 3 years at least. I usually take a 10-year history. So 2018 to 2008. But lately I've been trying to expand it a little bit. So starting more broadly, going back to 2003. But then you've got some players that literally barely played in college. So I put a threshold for games in there, or threshold for years played at least. If they only play 1 year, like non-years, and it's a Johnny Holton apparently, just get him out of here. Also, I've seen like in your database space, man, you specifically test against top 24 wide receivers. I really think that's too small a sample, which is unfortunate since those are the guys we're hunting. But the wildness in results there just kind of is crazy. Look at that. I've just completely screwed my pre-draft model up by moving all the columns around, which is, again, partly why I'm looking to make a new one. You should really have a touch threshold, I guess. You have to have touched the ball this many times in college before. But I just do a year one so far. I mean, maybe we should change that right now. I don't know. Like the number of games you've played. Like I got a guy in here that's only played 8 games, so why don't we say we're just going to look at results of players that play at least 20 games? Really wish I could see your little chat box at the same time that I do this, but you see what happens? Yeah, right? It's pretty neat. I can actually believe how bad... I actually can believe how bad JJ Sega-Whiteside is. Yeah, I definitely can believe it. It's just that AJ Brown shouldn't look the same. He shouldn't look as bad, even production-wise. I think AJ Brown was clearly a better prospect. Right, I'm not out too far on a limb there. A little post hoc, I get it, but wrong line, wrong line. Ah. It's a little harder to create a squared matrix, and I don't know a better way of doing it than this, put it that way, and it kind of sucks, to be honest with you. Actually, you know what we could do? Might make writing it a little quicker. I might make it quicker or slower. I haven't decided yet. But if we look this first variable the first time out, and drag it that many times, and then we can change it around. I really wish I could fix my keyboard BIOS, because F4 is such... You have no idea how useful F4 is. Like you don't even know how much fun it is to lock cells just using a single button, because typing this little freaking $sign is killing me, man. Get out of here, keyboard BIOS. Look at this. First world problems, maybe, but I'm gonna gotta push delete again. No idea. You know how lucky you are right now, Spaceman, not to have a new keyboard that is shitty. Don't do it. Don't upgrade. It's not worth it. Yeah, I just got actually I got DM this time asking me to please consider adjusting some of my DLF ranks. Apparently I was way too low and way too high on certain players, and they notice that now. Tan's built them a little tool to help them notice, and it's just me. I'm at the bottom, at the top of both lists. I'm like, yeah, I'm a weird ranker. What can I tell you? Good. Well, come on. Need to develop a macro for this or something. Mm-hmm. How many? How many? 72. Okay. I had this all neatly done, and then deleted the tab. So that was smart. Hmm? Started to develop wide receiver tiers. It's funny since I don't even have a model yet, but there you go. There seems to be a pretty clear separation between certain players' profiles and certain other players' profiles. Kind of those that do and those that don't situation. What? Really? Come on now. There we go. Living the dream, buddy. My game. Yeah, sure. We don't need those two right now. Camping stats. All right. Okay. Look right. One, two, three, four. Not five. Not real good at predicting efficiency. Who knew? I suck at decimal breakout ages. Actually, it does a little better. I just don't care. Are we by ourselves yet? Just me and you, Spaceman. Let's figure it out. Don't even know why I'm streaming today. I got so much to do, and streaming to Discord failed, and yet here I sit. Go figure. Let's look at only the ones with freaking NFL stats. How about that? It shouldn't change much, to be honest with you. Maybe my age-adjusted hit rate average should just be my damn model. I mean, that's the model, and when they get draft capital, it gets adjusted by that as it is. Yeah, I don't blame you. I think I just want to put it down for a while, which is weird because I've just gotten to the point where I should be digging into it to make my own ranks, and I'm like, I'm kind of done. Kind of finished with it. Kind of upset about my points per game score. I thought I was done updating. The best thing I think I have right now is the yards per team pass attempt adjusted by the expectation of producers at different ages. So an age adjustment. For wide receiver, anyway. Well, yeah. Not the best thing I have, but let's look at Twitter and shit, shall we? Rondell Moore squatting 600. Okay. Aren't most weightlifters in the world smaller though because of the center of gravity? Just saying. He's good because he's good, not because he's strong. Although it helps, I'm sure. Ugh. Yeah, here you go. Here's my model. It will adjust with draft capital. Rundle Moore, Bateman, Keelan Stokes. Do you know anything about him, by the way? I never heard his name before. American West. It's not a great look to be from the American West, to be fair. Conference. No, no one knows about Keelan Stokes. Not a surprise. Justin Ross isn't coming out, is he? See, this is where I'm not sure about breakout age sometimes, and why it's not in and of itself the stat you profile by. It's like a quality score. Like Terry here, Mr. Terry. I mean, he's got a later breakout age, but he played later. I mean, it's a little hard to ding him not for breaking out when he wasn't playing. And when he did play, I mean, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm just starting to look at it. Like, I've been working on it so hard, and I've really not thumbed through the numbers, as it were. So, yeah, I figured. Yeah, that makes sense. Smith, too, it's a little unfair. Well, not really. He played 2 terrible years. He just looks like a late breakout to me. It's fine. It's just not great. It's just fine. Let's see how obsessed the NFL gets with him. I mean, it's like Jefferson. You got 2 great years, but you didn't play at 18. So what do you do? Just ignore it, right? I wonder if instead of creating scores to do models by, I could just literally feed it the dominator and the conference dominator. See if it can do it itself. Because right now I just roll it all up into one score and then insert it into a model. Like my original model has breakout over expected. Maybe I should stop trying to do some of the work for it. Essentially what production score does. Yeah, most of them I have I've glanced over here, and I know like what do I sort by? I sort by points per game mostly, since they don't have pre-draft scores yet. And looking at the 2021 class, like the guy at the top is more of a rusher, but his eh? Those guys are new. I've never seen these names before. They've only played 1 year. Are they really 2021 prospects? Oh, they've got zeros. That's why. Okay. Anyway, let's look at best year instead to be safe. Yeah, Harris is at the top, but Edney is more of a receiver, but both of them have pretty strong receiving numbers. Like they both have, same with Hubbard, to be fair, 2 seasons with over 20 receptions, which is the Zach Reed rule, if anyone's wondering. That's why I literally inserted this column in here, because I know he's going to refer to it. They're all operating around 84 to 87% rushes. But Hubbard is more of a rusher than most. It's still like a 13% target share. 13% of his yards came from the receiving game, which isn't, horrible. These are not predictive numbers, but they're very descriptive, which I find useful at running back. Etney is much more of a receiver, but I guess that's why, the nerds are having it's him and Harris. Gamewell's a receiver, right? 70% of his yards came from the rushing game, 2.8 receptions a game for his college career. Yeah, he's catching some passes. Ooh, look, I just noticed this. Yards per team attempt finally jumped up. Now I've fixed team rushing stats. Yards per team. Oh, that's pass attempt still. But yards per team attempt is also getting a little bit of a signal at running back, which is kind of what I expected the first time. You probably can't see any of that, man. What am I talking about? Whee! There we go. See, some of the scores are broken. First and average are broken right now, apparently, but I got some divide by zeros. Okay. But yeah, before they were scoring 6 and 7%. So that's good to see. Oh, God, I can already see things that I have to fix. It's pretty easy to isolate the top of this class. I guess we'll wait for the non-combine to happen and the draft. I don't mind looking at yards per touch at this position, to be honest. Which is kind of weird because it's just kind of weird. It doesn't have any signal in and of itself, but like Edney's getting a lot more yards per touch than or Harris, for that matter. And no, I mean, I never hear the years played crowd come from running backs. I'm just saying. They've both played a little too long. if such a thing exists. Over 50 games in college. It's not normally what we like, right? No, it feels like everyone's high on the running backs from the SCS class. Hopefully, by the end of it, they were back up into being high. It feels like a year they might overreach on them, but it's also hard to say that this year's wide receiver class is going to be great. I mean, we just had a great wide receiver class. Yeah, the average is around 34 games for top 12 running backs, by the way, 34 games in college. So in the 50s is pretty high. They're coming out a little later than usual. That doesn't mean too much, but it's good to know. And COVID exceptions, I guess, maybe. Is it though? I mean, Hubbard only played 7, but Entney and Harris both played 12 and 13 games. It's not like COVID was limiting the number of games they played last year. I saw you posted your tiers on Discord. Yeah. Just rough where I think the groupings are right now. And like I was just saying to Space One, I basically just started looking at the numbers after producing so many of them. What's my issue with late declare? I don't have an issue with late declare. I have a problem with, if I have a problem with anyone, it's film stud. No, it's players who only did well when they were older, physically more advanced, and getting senior difference. Like I need to show, like I have a hard time believing in that. I don't have a problem with late declare. It's a question mark because that means they sometimes get less draft capital. Sometimes they stayed in college, I think, because they needed to pad their stats. The NFL has a bias towards it, and I'm going to have to field questions from the likes of Anthony Amico and Rich Harbour, who are both smarter than me. Because if they are late declare players, that's the conversation that's going to surround them. Oh, they're late declares. So it's not necessarily my issue with them, just what I think the issue we're going to spend time talking about is going to be, if that's clear. Hey. Oh, really? Haven't even heard it. I mean, outside of everyone in this class has stayed in college a little longer than you'd expect. Got an all-round skill set, mostly. I've heard a lot of Hubbard hate. Actually, Hubbard's the one I've heard more hate for. I don't know why. I've heard a lot of people wanting, Etne to be the number one, which I don't have a problem with. And look, there you go. Like Harris and Etne are going to be the seniors when they declare. We got a sophomore? JV and Hawkins? Cool. Ernie Brown. Good name. What did I say in this quote? Let's see. Yeah, my favorite players in the wide receiver class so far, Jamar Chase. He's not rising to the top of a lot of lists, but again, where I more read what they did than look at a single number. I mean, he's as over the threshold as you could hope in everything I look at. Solid domination, good conference. People like him from film. I mean, there's nothing not to like. I don't really have many questions about that outside of where he's going to land or what his draft capital would be. And I do think there's a little, like, I don't know. I want to hear a little bit more about how he played, because there's a little underdominance going on here for such a good player who's doing good overall. Like, he only played 2 years, but like that yards dominated as 22% compared to this 31% dominate, which means he's relying a lot on touchdowns, to my mind. I don't know. I haven't heard a bad word said about him. I'm just like, it doesn't. I mean, it's good across the board. As far as I can see, even though he's only played, 23 games, he ticked most of the boxes in those 23 games, which is good. I'm just wondering why he's immediately towards the top. Is it just a visceral experience of watching him play? Because, if we're going for just best year or just a small, like, and I know he comes from fucking Big Ten West Purdue, but Rondell Moore one season outstrips Chase. I'm happy to have Chase over Moore because, respect to draft capital and where it's most likely going to go, and the fact that the SEC West is likely a bit harder conference to play a wide receiver in. But I'm going to need more convincing. I mean, even Elijah Moore, who I know is a smaller, quote-unquote, slot guy, but he's so much more dominant in the same conference, in his situation of his teammates. Like, he is... I know. And that guy played... I don't know why I hardly hear anything about Moore, but he played full 3 years, 31 games, didn't miss a step. Like... I mean, he didn't break out year one. That's about the only thing, but his breakouts at like 45 and 30%. It's very Tyler Boyd feeling, except for the fact Tyler Boyd also did it at age 18. So I guess it's his size and the role he's playing on his team, I would guess, which is fine, but like, since there's a pretty good coin flip that both can't elevate, I'm okay getting the guy with the lower floor, I guess, is presumably the argument. But I don't want to get too caught into that. It's hard to know without, knowing where they're going or how the NFL values them. But like, I've got a very strong eye on Moore, who's also in my crushes section. Rondell Moore. I've only got one season, but that one season is just, that's why I say his name. I remember that. But yeah, Rondell Moore has had one of the best seasons ever at age 18, or any age for that matter. Like, he's really impressive. It's just unfortunate we only have one season, so you kind of have to shrug about that. Because Chase did very good for long. I get it. So I'm fine with having Bateman under Chase as well right now, but I don't really have him ranked yet. It's just I like all those players. I don't really see anything that, in fact, I just see good things. And the other one was Rashad Bateman, who's kind of getting lost in the list there somewhere, probably because of Tyler Johnson, and we went so hard on him. But like, I cannot expect better than what I've seen from those guys. They all stand out in different ways. Tyler Wallace, I'm concerned about mainly because I'm not sure the fact that he's coming out a little later will affect him. Opportunity, if he was padding stats, if he just chose to stay in an easier situation. That I don't know what any of that means, but I think that's a conversation. And I need to know something about Seth Williams. Like, I like his profile just at a glance, but I literally don't know anything about him. Like, I don't think I've heard him mentioned. I'm sure he has been. I just haven't heard it. Amon-Ra St. Brown seems too good to be true. Appreciate the note, by the way, bud. But like, it's almost too much to hope that a guy called Amon-Ra is going to be big in the NFL. But yeah, I just wonder where he's going to be drafted. Devontae Smith, I think the only problem, like, I'm fine. He's fine. The problem I have with him is I think people are gonna be hyping him. I don't think you'll ever get him. You'll get him too low or you'll get him too high for my liking, personally. I've also got Keelan Stokes, Chatarius Atwell, and Kala Shakir, I guess. Like I don't know who they are, but they stand out in one or two ways, not always like the top tier. So, and it's not better or worse to only stand out in some ways because they stand out in ways that are significant. But it does lead you to wonder. You need more information about them, you know. Like at this stage, DK Metcalf would have fallen into that interesting category. Like that 1 year, I mean, he's pretty good, and so I just wouldn't know much more than that. The reason Moore doesn't fall into that is because it wasn't just pretty good; it was spectacular. So he's just put him in the crush category straight away. It's on Patreon. It's a Patreon Discord. You should have been sent the email when you signed up. If not, it's one of the latest posts, I think. Hang on. Patreon Discord. Yeah, there it is. I'll put it in the chat there for you, Philly. Follow through to that link and follow through the Discord. It should still be working. Yep. It works. Just click on this big old picture of Homer there. This draft season's going to be weird with no combine to look forward to. Like, I don't like combine stats, but I do like hearing a lot of people talk about them, and you get to see a lot more coverage, and you don't have to go out your way terribly to see clips and see what kind of player they are, and it's fun to watch them run around, frankly. Hey, bud, you're in. I'm trying to find a way of streaming in Discord. Someone's asked me to do it to their Discord, and like this Monday Grind show into their Discord. And I can't find a way of doing that yet. If anyone knows one, let me know. I think I could probably easier to do it through OBS, but OBS StreamYard hosts a lot of the load on their server. So when I stream to Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch right now, it's all going through their server, and so it doesn't put the burden on my internet, which is kind of terrible. No problem, Philly. Welcome in. So yeah, I don't want to use StreamYard particularly, but it helps out when you've got lower quality internet and you want to stream to more places. Someone said you can share your Chrome, but it's not working for me. It didn't work well. We tried it at the start of this stream, and it doesn't go through. Like I've set up a channel on the Discord so that if I get it working, it can just be going in there and I can see the Discord chat at the same time. There's a StreamYard Discord. That's not quite what I'm looking for, but So as yet, I don't know how to do that. It's a new thing. I've just started to look through conference. Honestly, I just ignored it most of the rest of the time and let draft capital sort it out. But I'd look at it this way. It's a limitation, perhaps, maybe, on their draft capital. If they still get draft capital, I would stop worrying about it. So we've got that to hope for. And the other thing is, you can still break out just because the NFL doesn't notice you or doesn't like your conference. I mean, players have been good for lower conferences. That's the thing. That's why we look through production more often than not. Like the NFL has spent the most draft capital in the SEC West, followed by the SEC East, and they account for only 22% of wide receiver breakouts. Their preferences don't pay off all the time. And you know, if you want, you can just call it all Big Ten, and it looks a little better. So I'm looking for the conference tab, which is in the database, obviously. But this is a count of players they've drafted in the first 3 rounds. You see the West, SEC West and East are by far the most pillaged, I guess, by the NFL. You know, 25, what is that? A sum of 50 wide receivers over the sample size since 2003. I mean, it's like, as far as I can tell, that's why Tyler Johnson fell so much. Like, they don't think people from that conference are that good. You know, they're playing for, who is it? Purdue and Purdue and just teams where, you know, NFL heads, football heads are just like, well, you're playing against bad defenses. It's like, well, they can't play against other defenses because that's not where they play. But against those defenses, they're a lot better than most players would be against those defenses. So, you know, adjust. Yep. If we just rope all the Big Tens together, let's gives a little more good. I mean, Paris Campbell came from the Big Ten East. It's just that based on the designations from the Sports Football Reference, the Big Ten East actually gets draft capital and the West doesn't so much. Like they've drafted at least 5 wide receivers. No, those are hits. Sorry, 11 wide receivers in the first 3 rounds for the Big Ten East. I mean, I don't know if the designations are good or accurate. I don't watch college football. Maybe you want to tell me that Purdue actually does play the good defenses. In that case, maybe the NFL won't care so much. But that's the concern. It's not that makes them bad. It's whether the NFL will notice them. And I think they're good enough that they should be freaking noticed. Put it that way. Nice. Trade some of those. Okay. Yeah, right. Just look at the Big Ten. I mean, there's plenty of hits from the Big Ten. It's just based on the East and West designation, which seems to be something that's happened since at least 2011. You've also got the Big Ten leaders, apparently, and legends and something else. Big Ten legends. I don't know. But again, it's not a concern that it makes them not good. You're not good because you play in a certain conference. I think that goes more to preferences for the NFL. You know, I'm wearing my Dummy Blitz T-shirt. If no one can read it, J. Mike Check, king of all blitzes. Like what? Let's see. 219 players overall. could put this column in there, but I just didn't think about it at the time. Like the percentage of draft capital spent. And that's a good thing about rookie prospecting this time of year. You don't have to panic or hate so much on anything. I know we want to, and you can if you want. But it's just fun until we find out what's actually going to happen. Because I never would have guessed Tyler Johnson went in the 6th round or whatever like that to Tampa Bay. Like, talk about a team that doesn't need it. But yeah, and we're talking about a difference of the highest drafted conference since 2003 is the SEC West, and they have 12% of the draft picks in the first 3 rounds. So it's not like anyone has a true monopoly. Yeah. It's just that the Big 10 West or whatever it is currently trending at like 0%. Yeah, there it is. A nice big fat 0. But this is the year, right? This is the year. I mean, even the ACC Coastal, I don't know if that's a good division, but 11 players have come from there. That's still only 5% of the draft picks in the first 3 rounds, And it's not like anyone's out there saying, people that play in the ACC are bad. I would guess that's not the take. ACC Coastal to the ACC Atlantic, there's a difference of like 0.4%. It's just something I can note and maybe explain some of what happened to Tyler Johnson, That's the only reason I can see. I mean, they took Corey Davis. Where the frick did Corey Davis play? Was it the MAC or whatever? He was playing from a worse conference. I mean, someone noticed. It can also work to be an advantage, like a team that isn't going to work on that. Yeah, he played the MAC, and that's a terrible conference. Even I know that. So there are teams and scouts and GMs out there who will ignore it. Oh yeah, there it is. I do have it in here. Percentage of first 3 rounds. It looks like it's scuffed though. Oh, well, I have to fix that later. Yeah, I see how I broke that. That's a mistake. Conference is actually providing a lot of interesting and useful context. But as I said with those scores, these R-squared results again, I can't find a way of... I can find pretty good results for it, but I can't find a way that when I put it into a model, the model's like, yeah, that's a stat you should use. Instead, it just wants me to stick to age stats and overall production. Like, it never finds the conference adjustments the thing with good certainty. See, they all end up down here. Conference expectation, that's a different thing. We don't need that. We don't need that. Teammate score, like teammate scores are worse than conference adjustments. Put it that way. I'm happy to say that. And look, there's conference adjustments, yards per team pass attempt, and it gets good scores. It's just when I was literally just trying to linear regression test it, it kept saying, that has low probability of being relevant, which is awkward, I guess, based on what we think is true. Because it doesn't take much looking through hits and misses to notice that conference. So that's why I think just being aware of conferences the NFL like might be enough. It might just be a selection bias problem at the NFL more than anything else, Players who are good in their situation, in their conference, are better prospects. The NFL just doesn't think so all the time. If those two don't get high draft capital, you're onto something about conference bias. I think I'm onto something anyway. I think the hope is that, like all groups of people, you're able to identify when something doesn't fit the pattern you expected, right? Some they don't think the Big Ten West is a particularly good conference, but these two players, man, I mean, they did, like I said, they did it with Corey Davis. No one looks at the MAC and goes, that's the conference that wide receivers are meant to come from. But they still noticed Corey Davis. And yeah, he didn't hit anywhere like I expected, to be very clear. But I think we've seen enough to know that he's an NFL level player, even from the MAC. So it's an awkward balance, to be sure. Unfortunately for our little thing, our little game, we're not just trying to read who's good. I know we all want to play scout. I know I do. But we're also trying to read what scouts will think. We're also trying to read what teams will think about what scouts think, And some of that is just resolved by what actually happens in the draft. We don't have to wonder at a certain point once we've seen the draft. Well, you do have to wonder to a certain extent because, another team might been just about to take him or not. So there's still a question there, but the draft solves most of it for us. I hate to be a draft truther, but I think it's very important to understand what things are telling you. And draft capital is not telling you who's good. It's telling you who teams want to provide opportunity for and how much. Which is why it's impressive and pretty much proof of the pudding that lower drafted players can do that. Because it's not like teams were expecting to or really thought they would have to, but they just force the issue. They're like, I'm just better than your first round pick. Sorry, I'm just am. Yeah, I mean, that's what I've heard as well. That's why I was surprised when I looked at the Big Ten, and I don't think everyone was as hot because he had a bad last year on Johnson. But even last year, when I was talking to people about their film observations, they mentioned Bateman. They were like, well, yeah, I'm more like Bateman on that team. So I think that he probably will stand out to NFL scouts a little more too, That's the hope. That's the dream. And Rondale Moore, if nothing else, I think the NFL will be aware of him. I'm not honestly sure if they were so aware of Tyler Johnson at this point. But if you've got people posting whatever it is I just saw, like videos of him doing squats, the NFL is very aware, I hope, of Rondale Moore. And so, it won't matter. See you later, Spaceman. Thanks for checking out. I'm going to go soon, too, to be fair. Getting tired. I got to go fix some drawers. Literally, they're falling apart. But yeah, he's getting the hype train on social media that makes me think he's going to be someone the NFL is looking at. And honestly, that's what I think, Salvatore. I think if they look at these players, they'll see they're good. And they look at everyone, I assume, but you can pay attention or you can pay attention. And I think Moore's going to be okay. I think he's going to be okay. I hope he is, because what we've seen of him is pretty impressive. Now, on the other hand, flip it around, and another player I really like from this class, honestly, is Elijah Moore. He's not getting a lot of attention right now, as far as I can tell. Like, no one's mentioning him. I hope the NFL is still going to look at him seriously, though, because he comes from the SEC West. And I think they have a higher estimation of players that come from that conference. So hopefully, even though I'm not hearing it, the NFL is doing it. But again, pretty much be resolved when we see the draft, right? If he doesn't get drafted, then no, they didn't care, or they looked and were like, nah, that's not my guy. But I'm hoping it works the opposite way for Elijah Moore. No one's really noticing him, but I think because he comes from the SEC West, they might prospect him fairly. And I think when they do, they should see a really good player. He's pretty impressive. He's a lower ADOT player, much like, Tyler Boyd was. I keep coming back to some sort of Tyler Boyd comparison. And he was third round, I think. Second round, third round. I'd be hyped for that, for more. And I think his conference might at least get him a fair hearing, as it were. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You've got a bunch of stuff that works like that. Like Tylen Wallace, he doesn't come from a particularly good conference, the Big 12, as far as draft capital goes. He's coming out late, which I also don't think. I think the NFL is aware that age matters, so they're starting to fade older players. Like last year, they very clearly were able to identify that. So Wallace doesn't fit that mold, but they also do like big guys, and I get the impression Tyler Wallace is a big guy. Same with Tamarian or Mr. Terry down here. I get the impression he is going to impress them physically. So, it's a little bit of what's the reasoning here? Narrative reasoning, I guess. But that's the thing. Our little thing contains so much of what someone else is going to think rather than what we think. We have to go through the GMs and the scouting department to try and see what's going to happen. So you kind of end up playing a little bit of a guessing game of someone else's opinion. And we really won't know. I mean, that's the old saying, isn't it? That when the draft happens, that's when you stop. That's when you pay attention. That's what a team thinks instead of what we think a team thinks. And unfortunately, if nothing else, and I really do think it's unfortunately, you can only succeed if you get on the field. And you can only get on the field if you're given a chance to get on the field, and you can only earn that so much. I mean, some players, Adam Thielen, some players get lucky. Like I think Cameron Meredith and Tyra Williams both got lucky to an extent, and that holes opened up in front of them, and they were good. I think Adam Thielen just forced the damn issue, to be honest with you. And same with Stephon Diggs and T.Y. Hilton. They just forced the issue because they were so much better than everyone else. So wide receivers do have that avenue for success as well. I do think someone like Elijah Moore and Seth Williams might have a harder time doing that because it's harder to force the issue being incredibly skilled technically as a more likely player to play closer to the field. But, that's Stephon Diggs' entire thing, and he did it. But you kind of have to be Stephon Diggs. So, and it's hard to read that from here. I can say they're similar. I can say they're very good in college. No, that still doesn't make you Stephon Diggs, So I adjust how much I'm willing to pay for the potential that they might be based on dynasty value. So we've got that. Because we also have the value minefield to go through. Because we've got to guess what GMs and teams are thinking, then accept what GMs and coaches are thinking, trying to see who's going to force the issue despite what GMs and coaches think. And then we're also making this dynasty value bet of the risk reward of all of that coming true. So our little thing's slightly different than the NFL draft. It's not harder by any means, but that's why sometimes NFL coverage doesn't really cover our thing. That's why we have Matthew Berry, right? Who do I like from the RB class? I have a pretty clear top tier-ish of Najee Harris, Chuba Hubbard, Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne, and Kenny Gainwell. Gainwell is much more of a receiver than those others. Etienne has a more established 3-down role. But Etienne and Harris, who are probably the two clear leaders right now, they they've both played for a long time in college, a lot longer than normal. I don't know what to make of that. It could just be a 2020 thing. I mean, it's not. I don't not like late declares, as I mentioned before, but I don't know what the NFL is going to make of that. I think they're going to draft Chuba Hubbard to ram him into a line. I think whatever team takes him is going to take him to be a grinder. Harris as well. I think Etne might get drafted by a team that has more intention of using him as a receiver, but all have pretty solid receiving stats. Kenny Gainwell might be more limited as a rusher, is my guess. But I would honestly have to ask people watching him to really know for sure. I just know he was pretty heavily getting his yards from the receiving game. That also makes me more interested in them most, I think. Devontae Williams just kind of falls into line just behind them in that he was more productive than most at the ages that he played. He was pretty good with it. In terms of his 3-down skill set, he has a real pretty fair balance for a player who's going to be productive in the NFL for our fantasy thing. In that, 18% of his yards were coming from the receiving game. That's a really positive number, around 13% on average. What is it? Around 14% of yards come from the receiving game for top 12 running backs in college. So he's kind of right on that line. It's very decent. So he's got a lot of teams he could land on and utilize his skill set well. But he also played less. He's coming out a little younger. He doesn't have as many seasons with, 20 receptions or more to follow the Zach Reed rule. But he was pretty big in the receiving game. Decent enough. I think I need to hear more about him. I am interested in the fact he's one of the younger players that show up as good producers from this class. I think it's interesting. This is a slightly older class of running backs than usual. Now, wide receiver, I know what to do with that. Running back, not so much. Especially after 2020. I know everyone's going to put a heavy 2020 asterisk around this thing. I'm leaning a wide receiver class, so it's just really weird coming after, 2020. But I think this might be a heavier wide receiver class. Or we might get overly excited about the wide receivers from this class, which might put some of these running backs at good value, to be fair. He's a freak on film and broke PFF records this season. Okay, well then forget the underratedness of my tier. But yeah, these guys are pretty much all in a solid tier for me. And honestly, the truth is with running back, I think there is more utility to physical measurements. I want to know who's a freak in the underwear Olympics. And we're not getting that this year. So I'm going to have to rely even more heavily on Zach Reed and Ray GQ. I want to know how they run. I want to know if they're Rashad Penny and running behind a really good offensive line or whatnot. And that kind of thing. I want to know if they're workout warriors or actually look physically impressive on the field, because I've never found a good way of measuring that through production numbers. I can say they're all immensely productive, whatever their physical makeup is, but the running back game is so much more physical by nature and so much more of a team game with the offensive line having to work in tandem with the running back and the wide receivers as well, frankly, that I want to know. And I don't think we have good numbers to adjust for their situation. And so that's where I just turn it over to film. I can tell you these are the guys that definitely impressed with production. So I want to know which ones are phony. And then the fact they're slightly older means they might lose out in draft capital. And that's important for running backs as well. But again, the NFL is going to be aware 2020 was a weirder season. So they might just stop looking at that this year. I don't know how they're going to handle it. But I like these guys. This is my top tier. It's not that there aren't other good players in here. A shorthand for who I think is good at running back most years. And remember, Joshua Kelly last year would have been in this tier for me pretty early on in the process last year. Like, he was productive in his situation, but he fell in the draft, fell behind two other running backs. We didn't really see him stand out much more behind him, but he got on the field a little bit. But yeah, it's points per game, especially in their best season. You kind of look at the best of what they did in college, which is different than wide receiver, where I go to the average. So their best season's what I'm most interested in. And that's why, Harris is at the top of this list right now, because I just ranked it by best season. I don't think that means Harris is necessarily better than Erdene, because this tier, to be very clear, all in the above the threshold of good. That's why they're showing up for me. And I was trying to get to I had a comparison score I was using, but yeah, there it is. I was trying to calculate how similar their production was to top 12 running backs, and those are the ones that came out on the top of the list. Everyone else is within a range. There are other players that are pretty close to it, and since it's an average, you don't want to put too much weight in it, but, don't know who Ramondre Stevenson is, but he's pretty close. So's Jamar Jefferson, Javon Hawkins. I wouldn't be surprised if, my tape friends tell me any of these guys that are pretty close are actually the ones that have got the skill set you want. Journey Brown, like we said, is retiring, but he was pretty far off, to be honest. I mean, I can actually do that. If I take out the 2021 class here. Yeah, last year I was looking at Malcolm Perry. Like, I think he fit that same description. Just to give you an idea of the fact that without the draft, I'm very much at a loss. But, Matthew Perry, Jonathan Taylor, Dobbins, Lynn Bowden stood out a lot. Michael Warren stood out a lot. Cam Akers was right on that mark, so I liked him. I liked Eno Benjamin a lot this time last year. I can't say I don't like him now, but A.J. Dillon was right there. Zach Moss was someone that was starting to fall along. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, honestly. I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire because he was very much a receiver in college, and then he got the draft capital. That's what made him shoot up my board. So, yeah, I mean, Josh Kelly is slightly under Clyde Edwards-Helaire this way. So I just, not to give you excuses, but just to let you know what that list means. A good way is just to look back at what it meant, for the last class or the class before that you saw, just to give you an idea. Like, I'm not locked into this. I know one of these guys can be Eno Benjamin, and one of them's Josh Kelly, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire might not even be on the list. Or for that matter, who really showed out? James Robinson wasn't on my list. He didn't play in the CFB. So, I try not to be blind to the fact that this isn't the only players I should be interested in. But based on the history of running backs from the CFB, these are the ones who are closest to players that end up being. So, yeah, from there, especially with running back, we're not going to be able to look at the combine. So it's going to be draft capital and listening very closely to those who have put all the work into assessing how they played. I hate to play it like that, but I'm not going to make up. I want to draft the right one, so I have no need. I'm not going to, be on team analytics no matter what if I don't have anything else, and turn it over to the film guys and hope they can lead us in the right direction. Yes, I would say college metrics are useful at wide receiver. Running back, they're somewhat useful. Like I said, I think that's going to be a pretty good list. Like I just read out the 2020 list, and it was pretty good. It wasn't James Robinson, but it had Akers on it. It has Dobbins on it, and it's made them stand out. So I think production metrics are by far better wide receiver than running it back. It's better at wide receiver than any other position. Why? I have ideas, but I couldn't promise you I know the answer. Tight ends are difficult because so few of them play at all, or very much at all, before they go to the NFL to be great. So it's really hard to compare them to past players. Quarterback's difficult because we don't have a single metric that really tells us much. I like completion percentage over expected. That's a Josh Hermsmeyer metric. But, I nothing I'd throw my shoulder behind, because that's such a wizard position. You can just, it all looks different. So the draft helps out more with that as well, obviously. But yeah, I'm unafraid to borrow signal. So I need draft capital, and then I'm going to adjust by it. And it's easy to do that at wide receiver because I can see a player who is good that the NFL might have underrated. At running back, it's a little harder because, for a start, NFL teams have a lot more control of whether a running back gets opportunity at all than a wide receiver. Like I said, some wide receivers can force the issue. Running back, Josh Williams might belong on that list. Joshua Kelly. So might Eno Benjamin. But, they're playing behind other players, and teams can just choose to leave them on the bench or draft someone else. They invested so little on them. So, yeah. And for sure, to go back to your question, production metrics make wide receiver a lot easier to predict, understand, whatever word you want to use, than running back. I think I can get pretty close, but I can't even dream of tiering them from this point. I just know who was a receiver, and I kind of bet on those PPR points in the end as well. Because I can tell you that running backs typically don't change their role a lot when they go to the NFL. If you didn't catch the ball a significant amount in college, you're probably not going to do it in the NFL. It's basically just Melvin Gordon that did that. And that's also LaDainian Tomlinson, but he did everything different than everybody. So, don't really count that. Like Austin Eckler stood out a lot to me early in the process. But that was because I was looking for good receiving backs. To be honest, Lynn Bowden popped for a similar reason last year, but I didn't like him as well because listening to Ray GQ talk about him, I didn't get the same vibe of a hard worker. This is just a good player who was restricted to a lower conference. And to be fair, he's playing in the SEC. I know played quarterback for a while, so it's a slightly different situation. And this is why I came in low on Swift, actually. He was much more of a receiver, which was great, but his overall production just didn't measure up as well as Cam Akers and Dobbins did. And, I was able to listen very closely to the draft and also film scouts to know that I shouldn't have him in a separate tier. He was up there with those guys. So, yeah, running back's finicky that way. That's true in the NFL as well. Like air yards and ADOT are pretty much have been a Rosetta Stone for wide receiver. We don't have a comparable stat for running back. We're still working with yards per carry, and we know it to be crap. We're working with, missed tackles per attempt and evaded tackles, and they're still more descriptive than predictive. I can't prove to you with numbers that Saquon Barkley is better than anyone else. I know it for a fact, but proving it is somewhat more difficult. Now, evaded tackles per opportunity and stuff like that does a better job than most things, like I said, but it does seem to be more descriptive in that you can't predict how many evaded tackles per opportunity the next player is going to get. But if you look at the per game average over the course of their career, it's pretty descriptive of who is better and worse. And compares to the visceral experience of it as well. But that also means that TJ Yeldon should be one of the better backs in the league. And as Josh Hermsmeyer constantly likes to say, he should be better than Joe Mixon. And I don't know where we would say that's true. So, well, just as good at least. So yeah, running back is tough with data. And I think it's because of restricted opportunity, but there you go. And the fact there's no air yards, there's no comparable metric that really gives us an insight into how the position's working. Tight end is actually, not that you asked, but it's a small sample game in a small sample game, which is a problem. But I recently found, where is it? Started playing with some of these yards per team pass attempt numbers, and yards per team pass attempt over conference expectation really likes tight end, weirdly. Like more than the other statistics. I haven't quite come up with a reason for that, but that's what I have the tight end tab organized by right now. And it does a pretty good job digging back. So I think I may finally have some sort of edge at tight end over overall production and the age at which they did it, which still helps, but I think that's going to be pretty good. did underrate Jimmy Graham, but Jimmy Graham played 1 year, and again, that's where it's a small sample game. Sometimes it's going to have variants like that. Underrated Fant a little bit, but not terribly. Mark Andrews it put at the top of the class, which, at this point, I think we can say. So, yeah, I think I might have something with tight end by now to actually build upon ranking with. In 2021, I really likes Trey McBride, by the way. That's at Kyle Pitts. This little grouping right here. Where is it? Yeah, really like Kyle Pitts, Cade Otton, Brevin Jordan, and Kyle Pitts. Follow through similar logic with draft capital and conference. That kind of puts Pitts at the top of the list. Pretty confident in that one. Tight end, I've dug in a few times. I've yet to find anything that, like, you'll see it's the only tab that I don't even have my own stuff in the quarterback tab. I've never found anything that's particularly revealing. I mean, that's just me, and I'm a moron, and tight end is a difficult position to prospect, but so don't take it as gospel or nothing. I haven't been able to find anything that helps me out with outside of completion percentage above average, which currently has Mac Jones as the best one of the best prospects to come out, and I'm not sure that's true. No, we don't. We also don't have air yards for wide receiver. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of money to pay people to collect some stats, and it's just not being collected. And not because it's not, like, it's a really hard job to sit there and watch film and count certain things happening in a very well-defined way. And it's easier to count, box scores to it, receptions, targets, yards. Those things get counted naturally. Which is why we end up turning from air yards and Whopper and Racer to things like yards per team pass attempt. Now, there are expected points models for college, which I think would be very good. But they're all behind paywalls, so we don't have them, put it that way. Because expected points models are very intricate and hard to build. Because you don't just, but you need snap data and what's the word? You need line data, exactly where on the field they were doing everything to try and work it. And so it's pretty intricate. But I believe PFF has air yards, actually. But it also has like evaded tackles, and it also has an expected points model probably for college prospects. But, just not behind that particular paywall. And also, it's fine. I don't mind doing some of the work myself. That's why we enjoy the game, I think. Huh. Any other questions there, dude? I'm happy to answer them. I just don't want to leave you hanging, Hey, every Monday, and I got a Twitter account just in case when I do leave, you're like, oh, wait, I was going to ask him that. Having said that, I've only just started testing these new metrics we have, and I've only done it for wide receiver so far. And that's the ranking. Receiving yards per team pass attempt adjusted by age, the average for the whole career is what wins. Outside of like breakout age, it's still age adjustments, man. I keep expecting to be improved wrong. There's too many people interested in conference and team context and Devontae Smith, but there is a drop off too. Because my pre-draft score is crap. It was based on metrics that I've adjusted and changed in this new update, where I just did a massive update of the database and we added yards per team pass attempt. And so actually it's kind of crap now. I've got to remodel it, which is what I've started to do here. But the first step is understanding what I should use in it, and that's what this little table here is. The start of me trying to understand what's giving us. And again, to be real clear on this, Salvatore, I don't know how much of me talking about this stuff you've mentioned. None of this is very predictive. None of it is very predictive at all. But you take the best signal you can, If I'm guessing, I may as well make the best guess I can, and that's what it is. Draft capital is literally essential for getting this right. I'd make a lot of fun at draft capital snobbery, but without draft capital, we're kind of adrift. My pre-draft score before I broke it was about as predictive as draft capital by itself, which is all this work to get just as good a signal, but it's a different signal. So when you combine draft signal and production, that's where we get the best guess we can, I think. And for that, we need both. I'm currently working on fixing my pre-draft score, as I mentioned, and I'll work on it. Right now, it looks like age adjustments are still going to win out, but I do want to add, it's very clear conference matters in practicality, so I want to find a way of helping our signal with it, but I haven't yet. And mostly when I test, by the way, I've just added all these NFL metrics, but this is the one I'm always modeling against. It's the average points they get over the first 3 seasons. So it's not even like the best player does the best the first year. I'm just literally looking over the first 3 years, trying to predict who's going to be best over the first 3 years. And I'm hit or miss. Like my post-draft model using draft capital is also broken because it's based on my pre-draft model, but I tend to beat draft capital by itself, which here you see is scoring, around 30% explanation of the variance in points per game of the first 3 years. So the goal is to use production, combine it with this, and getting over that. But even then, you're adding a couple percentage. We're not even getting close to 50% of the variance. So, and yeah, I wouldn't say my models are second rate compared to some people. It's like Matt. Name just jumped out of my head. God damn it. Matt Spencer. He's using sophisticated learning models and K-clustering and all this stuff. I'm just doing simple multiple linear regression models here, just to give myself some idea. And what I do with it is I understand who's productive and who has draft capital, and I try and combine it into making some sort of ranking order. And I hit at a pretty good rate compared to, ADP or draft capital. But, to put it bluntly, I have a lot of N'Keal Harry. So I'm not saying this is a mystery or the solution to a mystery source or anything. I just find it fun, and I want to make the best guess I can as a layman. So yeah, just with that out there. The reason my pre-draft score is crap right now is because I broke it. But even when I get it up, like I wouldn't take it, like I wouldn't look at it and be like, aha, there's a real order. It's an opinion. It's still an opinion. Best I can do, but listen to Anthony Miko for sure, because he can do both better than me, both film and tape. Check out what Matt Spencer's doing, because he's definitely more aware of data science than me. You've got Tanho on the data science too. You've got Travis May, who not only knows both, I would say as well as me, but he also is aware of college. Like he watches and understands college, the system, and which teams are better so much more than me. So, if you're looking for an answer, it's somewhere in the middle of all of those guys. Me, I just see myself as a guy trying to give you information to try and make your own decisions if you want to, but there are better guys to base them off. My models are always going to be partly just me. And to your point, yeah, my pre-draft model now scores literally 0. Literally scoring 0. Nice. Actually, the best thing I have in here right now is probably age-adjusted hit rate averages. So if I was going to, I'm ranked by that if I had to right now. Olave has gone to the 2022 class, by the way, but yeah, and that's Moore, Bateman, Keelan Stokes, Amon Ra, Elijah Moore, Tyler Wallace, and see what I mean? And then Jamar Chase, like a lot of the right names rise to the surface, and that's how I use it. As someone basically unaware of college, like how else am I going to find out except listening to other people's opinion? I want to use something they did, not someone else. Someone told me, and I don't think that's a ranking. Like, I think that's the likelihood of them hitting if they all drafted in the first round, and they're not going to, at best. All right. Yeah, man, I'll try and fix them as quick as I can. As I got kind of got a little burnout, just updating them, but I'm starting to do the work. I don't know anyone that's put out good models on prospects yet. I know Matt Spencer in particular is working on it as well right now. FS Spaceman is working on it right now. We're all kind of just working on it. But I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Hopefully by next Monday grind, I have something of a pre-draft model. Who knows? But I got to running back and tight end too. There's always more, right? It's fun though. Appreciate you checking out, and everyone else who did. Thanks again. I'll see you next Monday. Podcast is on Saturday when it drops, and yeah, on Twitter constantly. So see you in them Twitter streets. Appreciate you, and take care. All right, see you later.